This
Cloud.
conference will now be recorded.
So here I'm choosing Google Cloud. We'll go to cloud.google.com. I am logged in as me, as you see up here. If you do have a Google Cloud account, you should be able to, if you have a Gmail account and you've never used Google Cloud before, you should be able to log in into your account and then go to cloud.google.com and then hit console. Once you hit console, it's going to come up. And if you've never been in here before, you're going to have to create a project. Once you create your project, then you'll double tap into that project and you'll have project resources and so forth. I have an instance that's already up. I never turned it off. Oh, my bad. Let me turn it and share the screen. All right. So you say you go to cloud.google.com. So I'll do that over again. Cloud.google.com. I'm logged in as me up here. I hit console. Because I've been in this particular, my default is this, but I can have other projects here. I can create a new project. I can call this project study class. The organization, I'll leave it as the same. It doesn't like underscore, so we'll do dash. All right, and then we'll do create. So it's creating that for me, and it tells me so right here and right here. These are the two places that it tells me. I am doing this in Google Cloud for now. All right, so the project is created. When I come back over here, you see that it's still creating right here. Right, so it's still doing this thing. So now it's complete. So now I'll jump into that, and you can see I actually have nothing in this particular project. If I go back to the desktop project, Desktop Women in Linux, you can see I have I got a bucket, I got something going on in here, right? And you can see I'm being billed. I never deleted the other one when I spun it up. That's okay. So we're gonna go into the blank one because we have nothing in there, right? We're just gonna start from scratch. All right, so if you click here and you go down to Compute Engine is gonna get you your VMs that you want. All right, so you click on VM instances. It should come up and should say enable. Oh yeah, I need to enable. It's a whole new project, so I need to enable everything. So I need to enable that. It's a whole new project. And this is my API engine, and I may have to go back to my other one because it's going to be a lot of things I need to enable. But either way it go, each one of these right here has an API. Billing has an API. IA admin has an API. Compliance, everything is API driven. And we spoke on that briefly about being API driven. Remember, everything is a service and it has an endpoint. So when we're talking about making sure, and this is gonna take a while. Let me go back to my other one. When we're talking about oh, it's just doing the same thing in here too. I guess it needs to update. When we're talking about how do we communicate via command line to our our particular cloud. Let me clear this. And this may be a little small. All right. So here I should be able to type gcloud. Yep, see, and it's returning me. I've actually authenticated out to Google Cloud under my credentials, and I'm now using the gcloud commands. So AWS has the same thing. So gcloud commands. So they have their SDK, but they have an overview on how to set all this up and everything. And here's the cheat sheet. So they walk you through on like, okay, I want to install different components. I need to enable, and I want to get info. I want to uh, set up my credentials. So this right here, this gcloud off login, this is what you'll use to set up locally on your machine. It'll actually, you'll do gcloud off login. It'll spin up a web browser for you. It'll log you in, and then next thing you know, all your stuff from command line should be working. And going from there. So like here, gcloud projects describe should be a gcloud projects list. So let's go and see if I can do that. So I should be able to do gcloud projects. Let's see if list is an option. Okay, yeah. So gcloud project, or is it projects? Projects list. So you can see that it returned the list of projects, even the one that I just created today. And then it gave me the project number. And also tells me that I need to update my local gcloud information. So I'm gonna run that now. And what it's gonna do, it's gonna update all my APIs that are enabled. And as you can see here, it shows you what the components that it's updating right here. So they had some updates they rolled out. So now it's going to update my bots locally. So there were some updates that needed to happen locally, and there were some updates that need to happen here as well too inside the console. Let me see if I got some questions here. See, do you know if it's true that all the tasks completed during the exam must survive a system rule? Absolutely. You can't be on the exam and then do all this stuff and then don't and not able to reboot and get your system back. My favorite thing that I liken it to, if I set my memory settings in my car, right, and to for my AC, for my steering wheel, for my mirrors and all of that, and every time I get out it go back to factory settings, I'm gonna be mad. So, just think of it that way. When you turn your car off and you get back in, it needs to go back. It needs to come. Everything that you've done, it needs to come back. So that's what that is. Um, yep. You do need to reboot your system. So the rule of thumb is this: for me is document everything that you have to change. Things that need to be persistent, you need to put them in persistent places. If you make an environment variable on command line, 9 times out of 10, it won't survive reboots. So you need to make sure that you put your environment variables where they need to go across system reboots. And that's usually Etsy profile or in your .bash rc folder. I usually do Etsy profile because I want to set it for the system. All right. So far so good. Everybody got that? So we're done here. So now I'm gonna clear my screen. All right, clear is the word. Everybody got that? Who's all in AWS? All right, no questions. All right, so let me look at this. Let's see what this is. Let me see if this is a Red Hat machine. Ephemeral. It don't tell me the OS, but I guess I could probably get a description of it. That's okay though, because we can go here and connect. And I can do a cat Etsy Red Hat release. If it returns Red Hat, then I know it's a Red Hat system. But I don't think this is a Red Hat system. We're about to find out. All right, so if I want to know if it's a Red Hat system, I can do cat Etsy Red Hat release. Okay, it's Red Hat 8.3. All right, so why did I tell you to do this here? One reason is now we don't have to really worry about registering our servers back to Red Hat, because every single cloud, Google Cloud, all of them all have their own set of repositories. But you can register this machine back to a different satellite server. But for now, this works just fine. So if you type a yum repo list, you'll see all of the actual you'll see all the repos that it has identified right here, right? Red Hat Code Ready, Linux Builder, Red Hat 8 for the base. And remember, I told you about this before, RHUI. RHUI is how you know that you're in the cloud, and I'll go over that in a minute. Let me write that down to go over that RHUI. Let me see, notebook. This will work. We'll cross this out. We'll change names. And FYI, not FYI, but question: how many of y'all have been keeping journals on what you've been doing every day? No? Okay. RHUI. All right. Cool. All right. So that's the Yum repo list. Okay. So what is Yum? Let's back. Yum is the package manager for Red Hat. All right. And I have a list of stuff that I'm gonna go over, but it may be going all over the place. But you're gonna be okay. So Yum, Rail Package Manager, and I'm gonna give you some tidbits here to use. All right. So here's Yum Package Manager. So you know how inside of your Windows boxes you get updates for the operating system. Well, we get updates for the actual OS. Um, and with the updates for the OS, it has to be attached to some type of repository. So as you can see here, they're showing you that the repos, the files, let's be clear about this, they're not the actual repos, but they are the files for the repos, right? They're the actual files to tell you where to get the information from. So not this guy. Where is my other one? Want to minimize this one, about this one. So I'm going to clear my screen and I'm going to cd over to etc yum repos.d. So change directory over to etc yum repos.d. I'm then going to do a ls minus l. And there's two reasons why I'm doing that. One, I want to see the permissions on the directory, because that's what the ls minus l gives me. It also gives me the user and the group, root and root. Also gives me a size. And let's do the up arrow and do a H, ls minus LH. It gives me the size, it gives me the kilobytes, it gives me the dates of when this was created, and then also the actual file and the time and dates, or the time, I should say. All right, so why is all of that important? This is going off on a tangent, but you need to know it. All right, this is important. All this right here is all super important. Why? Here's the why of why this is important. If I was to install, we have a program called AIDE. All right. So I'm gonna do yum info AIDE. All right. So it's gonna go out to the repository, and it's telling me I did info because I want to get the info about the package. Right. So I did a yum and I said, give me information about this package. and then the package name. And the package name is AIDE. And as you can see, AIDE is an intrusion detection, and it's basically intrusion detection environment. But basically, it checks for the file integrity and checker and intrusion detection system, right? It checks for that. So clear this back out, and when I do my ls minus l h, if anything has changed about this, when I run AIDE is going to go through my file system. It's going to tell me the package that was installed with it. It's going to give me not a fingerprint, but I guess a footprint of that package, and if it was changed or not. And so if I want to know if something changed or something happened on the file system or whatnot, I could use I could use AIDE to tell me whether or not something changed in this file system, on this particular file system. In particular, if I want to run if I want to know if somebody's changing my repos. So suppose an intruder broke into your system and they decided that they're going to change where your repos are pointing to. They could change it here or they could change it somewhere else. But if they change it here, that's kind of obvious. But if you did your Yum repo list, you would know, you could see where things are coming from, right? You could see, you could get a listing of like, oh, I ain't never seen Google Cloud SJK before. Never seen that before, right? So you can get a listing of that. All right, so now let's just do a ls again, and cat, because we want to use cat to read a file, right? I'm reading this file and it's telling me, okay, here's the contents of that file. The one thing that stands out here is where I'm getting this information from. Is it enabled? And the GPG is your key. You have what we call keys. Every repo should have a key, so you use that for verification of those RPMs, the signing of those RPMs. And it's the same way with here, where we're pulling that information from. And as you can see, it tells you where the GPG keys are at right there. It say, hey, pull those GPG keys from there. And you can do a GPG key on your emails as well too, if you were feeling fancy and free. Like if you want to sign your emails and make sure they're sent securely, you can do that. All right, so let's clear again, and let's do it. Go ahead.
Can I ask a question or whatever? So ls is it lists everything, all the contents?
So not so let's be clear when we say that.
Okay.
So when I do ls,
Mm-hmm.
you see I just get what's in the directory, right?
Okay.
If I do ls minus l, I'm gonna get the contents, the lone listing of that, plus the permissions, the user and the group and everything else associated with that. When I do a ls minus h, I am going to get human readable format for that. Now, if you want to know what more options you can do with ls, we have what we call the man pages. So you do a man ls, and this tells you what all are your options that you can do that are associated with the ls command.
So it's like the manual for all the ls.
It's the man pages for ls.
Okay.
And then and you have to, this is an important piece um up here. Let me quit and go back in ls. So the important piece here is, let me get my drawing tools out, my pen. The important piece is right here, this option, right? And then as you notice, they say you can do it on a file. But I want you to notice something here. You notice that things are in brackets, right? You see that? They're in brackets. So if I'm not mistaken, let me get my pointer back. If I'm not mistaken, if it's in brackets, that means that those are mandatory. And we can look that up. Let's make sure we look that up. Let me clear my drawing. Erase drawings. Okay, cool. All right. How can we look this up? Let's see. Red Hat commands and options mandatory. That may bring us back something. Let's see. Common administrator. No, no. I want us to break down a command. That's what I'm looking for. See, Red Hat breakdown commands. So that way, when you're looking at it, you know exactly what it is. Let's look and see if they got, if they break out the commands in the way I want them to. No, they don't. They don't break it down. So let's go back over to this one. So I think that the brackets mean that they're mandatory. Like you have to. Well, no, there may be options because you can do it LS without the actual options. So you just do it LS. So they may be optional. So ls minus a will give us hidden directories. Like, so don't ignore anything that's hidden. And let me show you what that looks like. So if I cd to my home directory, which is just tilde in this case, I can do that, or I can cd slash home, and I think I am Tamika. You see that? Oh no, I'm root. Sorry, slash root. You see it comes back with tilde right here. You see that?
What is the CD?
It's
CD is
change directory, right? So when I go here, I do a ls minus a. You see, I get everything with the dot in front of it. Those are hidden directories or hidden files. Now, if I just did a ls, you see, I don't return anything. But when I do a ls minus a, I return the hidden files, including these two dots, this dot and these two dots. And I'm gonna explain what that means right now. All right, so you see that, right? All right, so this dot and these two dots, they have significance. They have meanings. They're not significant, but they have meanings. So when I say cd to dot, all it's going to do is just cd to the current directory. The dot means the current directory. When I do cd dot dot, that means go up one level and go into that directory. So when I do a ls, you see I'm up one directory. Change directory. That's it. That's all cd stands for. Um, when I say I want to go home, or when I want to go to my home directory, I can do cd tilde, which is in your upper left hand corner. On my Mac, it's in my upper left hand corner. Cd tilde, and that takes me home. And then when I do ls, you see nothing there. But if I do ls minus a, you see I'm back where I was, and that was right here. I showed that. Does all of this make sense so far? Is
and you
everybody
said that
able to keep up?
and you said ls the ls minus a or whatever is the hidden files.
Mm-hmm. It
Okay.
shows hidden directories.
And then and CD is the change directory.
Yep. CD stands for change stir.
LS is what? List.
Long listing. Yeah,
Long
just yeah. People just call it listing.
are there like uh
Cheat sheets.
well, I guess you can say cheat sheets, or maybe like maybe the top 10 commands you should know before starting, you know what I mean? Like, are there like maybe, I don't know, like 10 to what? Yeah.
So I wrote out commands already. I just haven't finished this page either.
Okay.
So these are
Got
the commands that we're going over tonight. Right.
got it.
I gotta go over like it's actually like 100 commands, but
Mhm.
you're just gonna learn them over time.
And I
Now
put a
most of the
cheat sheet
commands
in
we're
the
gonna
chat.
hold on, and we're gonna go over these commands repeatedly. But D says she put a cheat sheet in the chat, but there's no top 10 commands that you should know. They're just commands. Right?
I was just throwing that out there, but you know what I mean? Like you just showed me what I was
Right.
asking for. I just kind of was, yeah.
Yeah, there's no top 10 commands to know, but there are commands to know, right? Like if I want to clear my screen, I'm gonna type clear. Right. So let's do a recap. um, I'm taking audience input for this. I want to change directory over to temp. What should I type?
CD slash.
Yep. And temp is TMMP on here, but I could make a directory for that. All right. So how do I clear my screen?
Type clear.
All right.
Get the control L as well.
Yep. I want to CD to /etc, and I want to read a file in /etc. So the first thing I would do is do /cd to /etc.
Interesting.
Now
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it ls so you can see what's in there. I want to read the file called let's read the file called logins.def. How do I read that file?
Is it cat?
And then what
The
else?
file.
The file.
Yeah. I
Right?
think that might be.
Yep. That's what it did. It read the file. There are other ways to read the file, but we're gonna do cat for right now.
Quick question: Is the other command more or no?
You could do more. You could do more on login.def.
Okay, I wasn't trying to jump the gun. Okay.
New one. You weren't jumping the gun. I just didn't put it out there. There's more. There's Pico, if it's installed on here. Let's see, Pico login.dev. I don't think I have Pico installed, but we'll see. Yeah, Pico not found. So how do I get Pico installed? What's my package manager name?
Ooh, I'm just taking a guess. Yum.
Yum. And then if I don't know what else to do with Yum, how can I find out? How do I install? I don't know, Tamika. Well, let me do a man on Yum.
Yum. Okay.
All right. So if I scroll down here, and you can do spacebar, that'll get you down a page at a time. Download only. I know what it is. I'm just getting there. Oh, I passed it. It's install. Let me see. Did I pass it already? Let's do a search. So if you want to do a search in a file, if you're ever in Vim, if you type if you do // and then I type the word install, it's gonna search the file for the word install for me. Notice the highlighting as it changed. Did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
All
Yeah.
right. So now if I just hit N, the letter N in here, it's gonna go to every location where install is at. It's just gonna keep highlighting that for me. And you can see I passed it already. All right. So now it should be, let me see, line 563. I'm looking at the bottom down here. And when I say I'm looking at the bottom down here, let me get my highlighter. I'm looking right here. That's how I know I haven't gone past my I haven't finished the actual page yet. So erase all drawings. So let's go. I'm just keep hitting in. Let me get back to it. Give me a pointer. And then let's hit in. You can see 601, 610. It's a lot of install words in here. As you can see, it's just going through everything. So I'm gonna quit because I don't want to spend all that time doing that. And I'll go back to my Yum page. I'm gonna
Can I
go
have a quick?
back to install. All right, so you can see we have an install and then we have a reinstall. So let's find out what install starts at. That's allow rating, and we can see the dash here, auto assume, -B. So we're at the top of our page because the content should be in order. So install root. I might have hit the space bar, my bad. But anyway, it's install. So Yum, install, Pico. Now, when you want to install a program, you can automatically tell it to say yes, right? So I can just hit this and it's gonna go out and search those repos that we found in that file. Oh, no Pico out there. Okay, Let's go back and try Nano. All right, so we have Nano. Now you see this step right here where I said yes, I got to say yes or no. I can actually bypass that step, right? I can do this and just put a dash Y at the end, or I can put a dash, I can do yum dash Y install or yum install dash Y, and then I hit Y, and it's gonna automatically install it, excuse me, for me. The significance of that is when you're in a script and you're using some type of automation to do this, you don't want to interrupt the script by having, it stop mid sentence and or doing your script is supposed to be doing this thing, and you're waiting on somebody to some human to interact and say yes. So your script is probably gonna fail, and it's gonna be sitting there waiting for human interaction, right? So we just installed Nano. So that logins.def file that I was using before, I could use logins dot uh, def, or is it login? Yeah, login.def. And then now you see I'm using Nano. You notice the difference between Nano and Pico. Nano at the bottom, it tells you how to get in and out. I'm just not that savvy for that. So I'm gonna hit uh control X to exit because I'm not changing anything. But if you did, you would have to save it and then exit. So that is the other one. So Nano and Pico are the other ones. And the other one is Yum install Emacs. A lot of people use Emacs. I am a VI person, but as you can see here, in order for me to install Emacs, it is a GUI interface for Emacs. Let me see if it's going to install my GUI. I may could do it from command line or a what we call a text command line. I may be okay with that, but I'm not installing it because I don't need 124 package on here. But if you did, you would hit yes, and it will install all 124 packages. So what we've gone over so far off this list, and I still got to finish this list out. We done ls info. We have not. We played around with sudo, sudo. We haven't done pwd. We did more. We can do head. We can do all these things. So we're gonna run through these tonight. By the end of this class, you should be done with this. Tomorrow, the goal is to get through by the end of tomorrow. By the end of tonight, we should be around here because we just went over some file permissions and access. But by the end of tomorrow, we should be done with everything on this page, right? And I'm pulling this from the 124 class, by the way. So it's not like you're behind. You may seem out of order, but you're playing with it. All right. So any questions before we move on? No. All right. Let me go over to temp. All right, and then I'm gonna ls in here. All right. So info. If we do if we want to use other help pages, we have man, and then we also have info ls. So you can see it looks a little different, right? It tells you program list information about files and of any type, including directories. It gives you a little bit a little summary of it, right? And it also goes over like like what's the fundamental use of the program and the menu and some footnotes, and then they break down all the things that you could do, the options that you have with ls. So that's using info. Now, another thing that I didn't bring up about man pages is you can search the man pages for stuff. So I can do a man, let me get my finger right, -k, and I'm going to do RPM. So it's going to go and search the database. It's going to search the man pages or the man database when I say database, it's just a local file database of RP where this word shows up. So RPM keys, RPM DB, RPM to CPO, grub, the whole nine. So it gives me a listing of everywhere that shows up. So let's do LS and see what we can pull back. See how much we pull back. That's why I didn't want to do LS, but you can see how much we pull back, right? And you can notice that in here they're like LS SSL is what you're looking for. Anywhere LS occurs in the help files is what they're pulling back. So let's clear this screen and let's do a LS. Let's do that man K LS again. But now what I want to do is I'm gonna complicate the command and pipe it over to WC, sorry, minus L. Word count minus L per line. So it came up with 431 returns on that, right? So you may have to filter out what you're actually looking for when you're doing that. And you can do things, you can filter things with grep, you can filter things with awk, sed, and awk, sed, and cut are the things that you can filter on. So suppose I do man minus L, I mean minus K minus LS, and I type head. I think you just do head 5 now. I don't think you have to do dash in anymore. Okay, you do. I thought I read you didn't have to do dash in and 5 or whatnot. But what it's returning me is the top five listings from this long 431 count that I have. So it's just returning me the top 5. If I want to get the bottom 5, I'll do a tail dash in, and it's going to return me the last 5. And if I want to see everything to verify that, you can just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we'll go back up here and do that, and they look the same, right? You can see that looks the same. That's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So those are the last 5. Did that make sense? You type a 1. All right. And let me know if I'm going too fast. Okay. All right. So let's clear my screen. All right. I had said to you I was gonna explain to you the RHUI. So let's pull up a terminal here. All right. Red Hat, and I'll tell you what that is in a minute. RHUI. So this tells you about Red Hat update infrastructure. So they're telling you about this is a solution managed YAML repository content and on cloud instances. That's why I always say this is how you know you're in the cloud. When you're returning that RHUI, that's how you know you're in the cloud. So basically there's a license associated with this. And this license that's associated with this YAML repo list, you can see these are all the repositories that you actually have paid for by selecting Red Hat as your operating system. And this is hosted out in Google Cloud. And 9 times out of 10, Google Cloud has a hosting with some satellite server from Red Hat. So it can pull in the updates and push those updates out to you for this. So that's why we don't need to log in and set up with a satellite server, although we could. Now, we just don't need to just to get the updates. We would need to set up with some type of satellite server if we wanted to push or limit the type of updates that we want to be pushed to our machine and so forth. So, there's some work around that, but you get the idea. So far so good on that. That's what the RHUI stands for right here. RHUI. And that's how you know you're in the cloud. So if you had a system, say if you had a VM and you stood up that VM and registered back with Red Hat Satellite Server, you would not get this RHUI. You would not get that. All right. So next thing we want to talk about is the move command. So I'm going to stay right here inside of my temp directory. There's something special about temp, and I'll explain that to you in a minute. So I'm writing it down so I can explain the specialness about temp, and then I'll also tell you a little few things about temp. Let me get that written down. And then the permissions on temp. All right. So now I want to make a file. So there's several ways to make a file, right? I can make a file by using touch. I can make a file by using Vim. I can make a file using Nano if I wanted to. I could make a file by using cat, but I'll redirect the output into a file. So there are several ways to make a file. So for us, let's start with the simple stuff. The simple way is you could just touch test.txt. Now, is that file empty or is it something in that file? All right. So
Empty.
now, yeah, it's empty. So, and how do we verify that it's empty?
ls dash l.
ls-l is going to give us
That's
the permissions on the file. It's going to
the
list
dash.
the file. Remember, ls is for listing. If we want to find out what's in the file, we can use what we've learned before. We can vim test.txt, and you can see there's nothing there. And I verified that with there are no lines. You can see that right there. All right. Another way we can test to see if there's anything in the file, I can do a cat on that file. I can do nano on this file as long as nano is installed. And we can see there's nothing in the file. All right. So we verified there's nothing in the file. Now let's put something in that file. I'm going to type the date command and I'm going to redirect that information into test.txt. You see, it's no output that came to the screen. But if I did type date, it would show me the date on here. Right. So now, if I cat that file, what do you expect to see in that file? All right.
The date.
Right. Right. Is the date in which I did it at that time. Yep. You can see the changes, right? You see the change. All right. So now I've done a couple of things here. I created a file using text, using touch. I opened the file. There was nothing in there. I catted the file. There was nothing there. I did nano on the file. There was nothing there. I pushed contents to that file. And notice the redirect here is I just want you to put the date into the test.txt. Well, what happened is this. When I did this step right here, I actually created a new file called test.txt, right? Because I used this right here. So now let's go back. Let's use the up arrow and let's do the double greater than sign. What do you expect to be in this file when I do this? When we read this file again, what are you expecting? CC, are you in Are you in /temp?
Oh no. Okay, thanks.
Yep. That's why I had everybody go over to /temp, so you don't have to worry about permissions. That's one reason. There you go. All right, now when we go back and do this, we should see 2 dates, right? Everybody got that? All right. So another thing that we want to do is we want to know where we're at all times. So I'm gonna go really fast, and then I'm gonna ask you all for some help to get back to where I was. All right, where am I? I'm in /temp. So now I'm gonna cd over to /varlog. I'm gonna do a ls minus l. I'm gonna cd over to ssd. Now how do I get back to /temp?
/temp.
I'm gonna take what somebody else said. Somebody said I go cd dot dot. It just gets me up one directory. Remember, cd dot dot gets us up one directory.
The cd say /temp.
So if I do cd/temp, it gets me back to my temp directory. Right?
So,
Go ahead.
so one way you can look at your directory structure is by a command just using tree.
Yeah, that's the directory structure, but we're just talking about how to move around.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just talking about how to move around. Like what commands move me in and out of where I need to be. So cd, if I want to create something in here, we're gonna get into that, but just moving around in general. I want you to all to move around. So Edmund, let me tell you what's gonna happen when you do that. cd $temp, cd tilde temp. That's all that's gonna do is tell you, and we could do it. Let's go here. Let's go cd tilde/temp. There's no such file or directory because this tilde represents me going home. And then in my home directory, underneath that, I'm looking for a directory called temp. So it's gonna put me, it's telling me I couldn't find anything in that in /root/temp. Let's go to cd/root. There's nothing there, there's no temp. So that's what that is. That's what happened. All right. So we moved around a little bit. So and that was the reason why I was moving around, because I didn't want everybody to get comfortable with just being in temp and these commands. So let's go back over these commands again. ls is for what?
Listing.
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 Listing. Want to list what's in the directory. ls. What if I want to put it in human readable format? I want to do ls minus lh for human readable. What if I want to get hidden files?
Tag A, LA.
Right? That's how we get our hidden files. All right. Now, here's another little nuance about ls that you all need to be aware of. ls minus l also gives me a little bit more information. It's also telling me about whether or not something is a directory or a file or a link, who owns it, user and group, because this is the user and this is the group, the sizing, the date, and this date is a date of creation, and the time. And the reason why this is the 25th, remember, these are images that we're spinning up. So we're spinning up these images. So this is something Google has on there. And then, and this is old because I spun this up a while ago on the 25th, on the 31st. No, oh yes, okay, it's the 31st, and then April the 1st. I don't know why this is showing April the 1st, but it's in UTC time, so that may be why. So we need to change something here. All right. So we need to go back to what we did a couple of weeks ago. Remember when we did time date control? Remember when we did the time zone? This time date CTL? We want to
Yeah.
change that because we're not in UTC time. And you can change this to whatever time zone you want to change yours to. All right. So before we did time, I think it's date, CTL, list, and time zones. This may be all off. Oh, that girl good. All right. And remember, we were playing around with this command and we were like, we want to get everything that starts with America, right? Beginning of the line, we piped it over to grep. And let me do this. I want to do a -I. I want to ignore case. And I want to get everything that starts with America. And I could just do America like this because it should ignore. Right, yeah. All right. So I know one thing where I want to set it up to New York time zone. And you can set it to whatever time zone you like, but this is the one I want. All right. So let's go back here. Because I'm being lazy. And I think all I have to do is that. Yeah, no operate. Okay, let's look and see what we got to change it to. All right, let's do a man on time, date, CTL. All right, so we have some options and a command. So you don't ask for the password, adjust. I think it's set. I think I have to do time, date, CTL set. And let me do this. Let me type set. Set. I think it's set time zone. Yeah, right here. And then you see in brackets, you have to give it a time zone, right? So we know it's set time zone. All right, so now we do this, and we'll come back over here, and we'll do set dash time zone. All right, so now when we do our date command, if I spell it right, you see now we're in the time, and now my time is lined up with what the actual time is, right? So what have we learned tonight so far? We learned LS. Oops, hold on. Get my screen coming over here. We went over LS. We did help. We haven't done move yet. We're getting ready to do that date. We're gonna run through these. PWD, we did that. Less more head. We did a little grep. We're gonna do fine. We're gonna spend a lot of time on it. That's an interview question, and we're gonna go show some shell stuff. All right, and actually, I could do this one now too. All right, so let's go over that real quick. So this prompt right here. Now, I have a couple of things to say about this prompt because this can be confusing. If you are in the bash shell, that prompt is going to be a $ or a hashtag or number sign. Not to confuse you, but you can set that prompt to be whatever you want it to be. But normally, by default, by no manipulation at all, as Dion say, no manip, it would be $ or hashtag. So let's go back here and use my pointer and let's clear my screen. Unlike, I guess attendees can draw. I gave y'all drawing privileges. Erase our drawings. Okay. So when I do an exit here, you notice my prompt changes and I logged out. And now I need to know who am I? Who am I? I'm Tamika. But when I sudo su dash, notice my prompt changes, and I do who am I am root. You see that? You see all of that, right?
Yes.
I'm Tamika here. I sudo to root. By default, this is set up on here. And then I am now root. Now, there are some privileges that come with being root almighty, right? And those privileges that come with that are you get a chance to um take control of the machine and do what you would like to do, right? Or whatever it is that you want to do. So by default, when you're logging into your systems, the rule of thumb is disable logging in by root. Also, set it up where people can't hack. Like 3 attempts on root, you get locked out. It's really a rule of thumb because these machines are public, and I guarantee you, I'm probably getting hit right now. Let me see. I'm gonna do a tail left dash var log messages, and you'll see stuff in your thing where people are just constantly trying to hit and take control of your machine. So they do password dictionary attacks on your machine, and the whole nine. So just be very careful when you have these machines. That's why I tell you just to turn them off. Just power them off if you're not going to use it. Just power it off. Save yourself the headache. All right. So let me control C out of that. All right. So another thing that we need to figure out is the word or the letter W. Who? So let's do a man on W. Show who is logged in and what they are doing. Right? W. Where is the IP I'm logged in from? Uh, when I logged in, was I idle? What am I doing? And then you have Tamika. But you remember that system we talked about earlier with AIDE? If I change something on the system in terms of the RPMs, I manipulate the RPMs or I manipulate a file. AIDE would keep track of that and let me know what changed on the system, and it reports it, right? And you can set an alert up for that. You can also, this is where SE Linux comes into play and the whole nine, but we'll get into that a little later. But this is the reason. So all that security, intrusion detection, uh, Linux forensics. This is what this is. This is what that goes over. When we start getting into that, and let me show you what that looks like. There's actually a Linux security class. Um, Red Hat. They actually have one. So this is an old one, and I'm gonna show you some other things that I use. So let's actually open this up in a tab, and then let's go here. So rule of thumb for me, this is what I use. Fedora security or Fedora SE Linux. All right. I like the documentation that Fedora has when it comes to SE Linux and working with Red Hat and troubleshooting. I just think their documentation is really clean, and gets into a lot of things. You don't have to use this. This is just my own take on it, right? And they just kind of got a little cleaner interface to me, give you better examples than what you get with Red Hat. Just my own personal take. And I'll post this link. All right. Let me go. There's another one that I like to use. troubleshooting with SE Linux right here, where they start breaking down how to troubleshoot SE Linux. And then they talk about the SE Linux user guide. This right here, by far, it is the most comprehensive and the best way to learn SE Linux. So when you get to your SE Linux stuff, I would recommend you use this as your guide, because they really talk about how to do audit to allow SE alerts, demand pages, how to, you know, get down into creating your own policies and so forth. So they really do a good job of that. And then here's the sysadmin guide, and they go into like here how to do the time date, how to do date, your hardware clock, managing users and groups, gaining privileges. And this is all from Fedora, and you can use this same guide for Red Hat. Remember, this is the upstream version of Red Hat. So their examples are probably a whole lot better. So you heard it here first. Not telling you to install Fedora. I'm just saying you can get examples of the actual commands and see how they break that down for you. So when you run it, you can see, or you may not get the same exact thing because their system is probably different, but you get an example, and it's an explanation of the commands. It's a breakdown of the commands, and they tell you how that works. So see CPU usage. This is you were logged in and so forth. So just an FYI. All right. So let's get back to what we were doing. All right. So we did see who is actually, we do a man on who, shows who is logged in. All right. And then I did a W, and you see the difference between who and W. Y'all see that? Let's clear my screen. So when I do a W, and then when I do who, you see the difference?
Yes.
What difference do you notice?
You get more information as far as with the W. It gives you the user. I'll let you know if they logged in, have they been idle. Give you their IP address.
Like, it gives you a little bit more information about it, right? It tells you what I'm doing. It tells you exactly what it is, right? It say man on W. W says show who is logged in and what they are doing. It tells you that. And then if I do a man on who, it just says show you who logged on, right? Well, I want to know what you're doing. I'm nosy. What you doing on my system? What you doing on here? Now, if you're a good hacker, you wouldn't show up in this. You wouldn't show up in here. If you're a good hacker, you wouldn't show up here. So then you would have to start doing forensics and stuff like that, right? All right. So let's talk about. I talked about the different shells, so I'm gonna exit out of my root, right? And now I am going to do echo $ shell, and it tells me I'm in my bin bash shell. So there are other shells. There's a shell for KSH, which is your corn shell, CSH, and your Z shell. All right. So let's do a man on CSH. Let's see if it comes up. Nope. All right. So let's do, if I just type CSH, will you give me my C shell? Nope. Let's see. ZSH. Nope. All right. Let's go over here to /bin. It should be there. I may have to do $. I shouldn't have to do that though. Let's see. ZSH. No, nothing there. All right. So let's sudo to root. Let's do a yum search ZSH. I may have to install it. Okay, so the shell's not installed. So by default, now the shell's not installed. So I have to install my Z shell. So if I do CSH, That is my C shell, Z shell. You see, C shell, my Z shell. And if I do KSH, that's my corn shell, right? So now you're like, well, who cares? All right, so let's do a CSH versus bash versus Z versus KSH. Let's see what we return. What is the difference between them? All right. Here we go. Now, on some of them, you did get a SH shell. You can't do much with the innet shell, but some people like to. Some of the programmers like to use the actual corn shell or the Z shell. From what I've seen, I usually stay in the bash shell. And I'll send you this and you can go over, see why the Z shell is so popular. They talk about it right here.
These shells
And
really
I
nice.
think by default, the new updates for Unix are the Z shell on your, I mean, on your Mac, which is just a Unix OS. It's Z shell. Somebody was saying something. Yep. So it depends on what your comfort level is on the shells. My advice, my best advice is to use to play around with them. All right, just to see what you like. Install them and start playing with them. You may find another shell that's really cool with you. For the exam, it will only be a bash shell. So if you don't want to worry about the other shells, don't worry about them. All right. So let's go back over this list. All right, tail. We did that, but let's clear my screen. So if I want to read a file system, if I want to read a file in real time, um, and I'm talking about a log file, var/log is where all your log files are at. And then if I do a ls-l, I'm gonna get a listing of those files. But there's some other options that I can do with ls. I can do a ls -l key for time, R for reversal, H for human readable. And I want to get the last file, oops, that was I read from. Notice that they got a DNF file in here and a DNF rlog and then messages. And look at what the timestamps on these things, right? So let's do a tail dash L dash F on DNF log. So basically it's giving me the cache for the repo for what's going on with Yum and what happened there. All right. Nothing too fancy there. All right, hotkey. I have no idea what hotkey is, but we can find out though. Oops, we can find out. So hotkey. Let me see. Let's cat that. I don't know what that is. All right. So here's one cool thing about Yum. I can clear this, and we had this thing called hotkey, and I don't know what it is. So I can do Yum whatprovides hotkey dot log. Yum should be able to tell me what package provided that. So no found. Okay, let's look up this. Let's do Yum search Hulk key. You see it's a process. So that means that either A, it hadn't finished processing my last stuff, or not AWS, GCP is doing an update on the system automatically, or some process is kicking out some type of update. So I have to wait till that finish. And it whatever it is just finished. So hotkey is a Python 3 bindings for hotkey library. So it's something related to Python. Interesting. Never seen hotkey. All right. So when I did a yum what provides, remember we can do a man on yum and we can do what provides. And if all else fails, we look it up. Do I need to do a dash dash what provides? Limit the resulting set to only the package that it provides for any capability. DNF R rem. All right, let's go back. Let's go here. Yum what provides. Example. Should be just the file name. I shouldn't have to do nothing else. Oh, is it RPM? Okay, it's RPM. It's not yum. That's okay. Let's go over here. It's I always thought it was yum. So let's do RPM, and in this case we'll do -q for query, and they got a dash dash what provides. I swear you could do what you call it, yum. So that is, what is it, hawk key dot log, no package. So it's not finding a package for that. Let's do a query -f, and maybe I need to do a full location. So we're in bar log. So let's do that, and let's add bar log /var/log. Okay, there it is. You have to do a full path. All right, so DNF data provides that. So now what we're gonna do is now we can go here with DNF data. We can say yum info DNF dash data. Now yum should be able to pull me back info. And that info tells me common data and configuration files for DNF. Common data and configuration files for DNF. This is the GitHub repository where that comes from. Here's the source RPM. It comes from the system repository. So this is probably installed by default. And here's the version, and here's the release, and this is the package name. And that's what info gave us about the actual where that log file came from. Like, I want to know where it came from. So that's how you go back and decipher information. Did that make sense for everybody? Do we need to do another one? You want to do it one more? All right, let's do one more. I heard a silent yes. All right. Let's look at. Let's go over to etc. Let's look at this one right in the screen. libuser conf, right? So we can use our up arrow. We know we're in etc. And then we want to give it libuser.conf. And it tells us that it comes out of the RPM package libuser. What does libuser do? Yum info libuser. Right? It's going to go check the Yum database. libuser is a library that implements a standardized interface for manipulating and administering user group and accounts. It tells you the source RPM that it came from. It gives you a little bit more information about it, the release, and so forth. Now, here's the thing that we are not going to get into. We're not going to get into how to create RPMs, even though they're fun to create. But you could, when you create RPMs, you're going to create RPMs and you're going to tell it the summary. So I can make an RPM named Tamika, and in my RPM, I can set it up to install a bunch of packages of whatever I want, right? 'Cause all we're doing is creating packages. So I can set it up to do whatever I want to. So when you install my RPM could set up, tunneling to whatever, set up a secret backdoor in your firewall rules and what have you. So I could create a package to do whatever. So that's what's really cool about that. No, we haven't done move. I do have I do want to get into cut all and set, but we're probably gonna do cut all and set tomorrow and find and xargs. And we're gonna write some bash scripts tomorrow, using for loops and environment variables. So basically tomorrow, um, we're gonna finish off all of this, which is um from right here on down. We just did the difference between the $sign and what, and I went over the different shells, but I'll reiterate that. And we'll go over this. We did not go over netstat. That really falls under networking, but we can still do that. So that's what we went over tonight. So um let's go over the move command. So let's cd back over to temp. So we have this file here called test.txt, and I'm gonna move test.txt to test2.txt. When I hit enter, what do you think move actually is doing?
It's moving that file.
Name the file.
Yep. So is test.txt gonna be there?
Said it again.
Is test.txt, is that gonna be there?
I'm thinking no, but I'm because you're moving
So
it to
you do ls, it's
the
gone.
text.
So you have to be careful with the move command.
Yeah, 'cause it's coming.
So rule of thumb, whenever you all are playing around with stuff, you want to, and we're gonna do something fun stuff right now. So let's cat. What is in test.2? All right. So let's echo Tamika appended to test.2. All right. So now we do ls. So and now we do a cat test.2. All right. Tara K, see you later. All right. You see Tamika's at the bottom of that file, right? So now I'm gonna copy test.2 to test.txt. I'll change the name. Check me .text. Right? So now when I do ls, I have a check me.text and a test.2.text. Right? So if you want to ever know what's the difference in the two files, you can do a diff on check me and test.2. You see it returned nothing, right? Like, hey, ain't no difference. So let's do a vim on check me, and let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of Tamika on the end of it. And let's go do an up arrow. And it's telling me that the difference is there's Tamika inside of one of these files, right? So let's do a cat on check me. There's no Tamika there. What it's telling me is the difference is in this final file, there's a Tamika there and you don't have it in this file. So we can do a man on diff. and it says compare files line by line, right? So let's go out and look, because I think it's source destination, right? It may be. Let me double check. Uh, we did test.2. We said in test.2, you have some information that's not in check me.txt. So what it's saying is like, hey, in test.2, you need to put Tamika into check me.txt. Since that's the difference between the two. Does that make sense? You did a diff on the file. Did the diff make sense? Okay. All right. So now, if I do a move, I don't want to do a move. I want to do a copy of checkme.txt to checkme underscore 2.txt. And now we can do a diff on checkme.txt and checkme underscore 2.txt. Should there be a difference?
Yes.
No, they're the same file. I just copied them.
Okay.
Copy is doing exactly what it said it's going to do. I'm going to copy one file and I'm going to copy the contents and put it into another file. Rule of thumb, always copy your files first before you change them or remove them or rename them. Just always have the original file first. Like, so copy, when I say that, dot text over to checkme dot text dot org. Always keep an original. So that way, if you delete or remove, you can go back to where you started from. And second rule of thumb is when you create this .org, throw it somewhere else, not in the directory you working in. So you don't delete the directory or don't delete what the contents on that directory, and you delete your backup. That's rule of thumb. Yeah, even if you change it to .backup, you delete what's in that directory, that's gone too. So move it over to if you're saying .backup, like create a hidden file. But I just move stuff out of the directory. I take it and what I do is I'll make in my home directory, um I'll make a directory called backups. Oops, make dir. Right, and then cd over to make dir. Nothing in there. Copy /temp star.txt to here. Now we do a ls. It copied all the files that ended in txt stars wildcard to this directory. So now when I go here to /temp, I can remove everything in here for the -rf ending in star.txt. So remove everything wildcard that ends in star.txt. And the -rf means don't ask me nothing. That's what I said. Do what I tell you to do. Don't ask me no questions. So what files do you think should be left? After you've seen this ls right here, what files? These are folders, but what files should be left? Removed everything star.txt. What files should be left?
The SSH and the system private
I
file.
could barely hear you.
Oh, okay. The SSH and the system D
Oh
file.
man, I could barely hear you. Say it again now.
The two files that don't have the T at the end.
Okay. So these two are folders. The only file that would be left is this.
Oh, hold on.
All right. These two are folders, and I'll show you how you know they folders. Besides them being blue on here, When you get on the exam, they're not gonna be blue. All right. So they might be. Let me double verify that. They might be. So see here, everything everything else is there. I just deleted the files that ended in .txt. The folders are still there. How do I know that they're folders? Well, if I do a ls minus l, if I look right here, there's no L or D that tells me that this is a file. This D tells me that it's a folder or directory, I should say. This D tells me it's a directory. Let's play a game. Let's go to temp, the etc. We're gonna clear. And we're gonna, this is how you can tell what's in your directory. ls minus l capital F. Let's get rid of the capital, the L. I don't want to declare I don't want the long list. Let's just do ls minus F. So the ls minus F gives me some other things that I get to see. These slashes lets me know it's a directory, right? Without me even doing the ls minus L for that. And these @ signs tell me automatically that they are links. And if you did a man page on ls and then look for the option -F, it would tell you that. So let's go to our man pages. I was gonna go look it up for you because I was being lazy. And then let's do a search. You do a search, and when you open up when you do man on ls, you do the /, and I'm gonna do tech dash or dash, and then I'm gonna do capital F. And then here it says append an indicator to the entries where it's gonna tell me what it is. Classify that for me. And it did. It classified the directories with a /. It classified that the links are with an @ sign. And it didn't do anything on if it was a file or not. You see that? All right. So now I'm gonna clear my screen. I'm just gonna do it ls. Well, let's do it ls minus L. I got a reason. And then I'm gonna pipe this over to less. Okay. This is fun time for Tamika. Stephanie, what is bin fmt.d? Is this a directory, or is this a file, or is this a link?
It is a directory.
Awesome. Good job. And how did you know that's a directory?
Because it starts with the letter D.
All right. You are listening and paying attention. All right, Mimi, you up next. Mimi, what is crypt tab right here? What is that? Is that a file, a directory, a link? What is it? Caller, are you there? Let me see. Oh, hold on. Mimi, nope. You got one more shot. You want to call a lifeline? You want to use a lifeline? Mimi, you want to use a lifeline? You want to give it one more shot? I need to start pulling up my music. Where's my music? Oh, what choices do we have? Audience, what choices does Mimi have?
Is it
Let
a
me.
link? I was
She
just calling
has
like
it.
a choice.
Yeah, she has a choice between a directory, a file, or a link. So you already chose directory, and it's not a directory. So you gotta choose between a file or a link. What you thinking, Mimi? Link? Nope, it's a file. And the reason why you know it's a file is because you don't have anything right here in the front. But if you want to double verify that, You can do it ls minus lf, and then we can pipe that over to grep, and we can pipe that over to crypt tab, right? And you notice that it doesn't give us the extra characters either. Normally, if it was a link, you see. All right. So I'll call on one more person. Kathleen Moore, how are you tonight? You are the next contestants on Tam's Price is Right. All right. System release. Is system released a link, a directory, or a file?
I would say a link
Why would you say it's a link?
because I see an L at the beginning.
That is correct. That is a link. And in fact, it is called a soft link. The reason why it's called a soft link is because you are softly linking something over to here, and that soft link doesn't replace the inodes. And we're going to get in that tomorrow. I'm going to put that down. So I don't want to continue on because I can teach till 12 o'clock, but I'm not going to do y'all like that tonight because I'm a nice person and I didn't put my bonnet on. All right. So, all right. So we recognize the differences between a directory, a file, and a link. So don't get caught up with these colors when you're on the exam because you need to be looking at the true nature of what it is, what it's telling you. I'm telling you I'm a link, I'm telling you I'm a directory, and I'm telling you I'm a file. Believe me. So here's another little tidbit. If you do file yum, it's going to come back and tell you yum. You see yum is a directory. And it told you that yum was a directory. So let's do file yum.conf. It tells you it is a symbolic link, and it tells you what it's a symbolic link to. And if we do file xattr.conf, it tells you I'm just a text. It's just a text file. You see that? So I showed you multiple ways to how to get that information. I showed you how to use how to look at the permission using ls minus l. I also showed you don't rely on the actual colors, but use ls minus f to tell you whether or not it's a file or a directory or link or so forth. And then I showed you using just the file command to tell you whether or not if it's a file or directory or not. Those are your 3 cheats. So when you're on the exam and you want to know, that's how you can figure that out. Okay. All right. So we have hit our mark. I'm going now to start recording.